Welcome to Sports from the Couch
I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
with your host, Mike Mercado.
Players cannot stand him. Coaches cannot stand him. Most importantly, the fans can't stand him.
Brought to you by Mercado Airwaves.
I'm gonna say it once, and hopefully I'm wrong, but it's a disaster waiting to happen.
That is so bad, that is absolutely brutal.
Hello and welcome in, friends, to another edition of Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm your host, Mike Mercado. I want to thank you so much for making us a part of your day. It is Thursday, November 5th, 2020, which means it is time to talk some NFL as we get ready for Week 9 in the National Football League. But before we get to our confidence picks, we want to take care of some housekeeping notes. I'm on Twitter at Mike M Media. I'm on Instagram at Mike Mercado Media. And you could be interactive with the show on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. We are all over the universe, wherever you get your favorite podcast, at Mercado Airwaves. Please become a producer of the show. Check out what we have at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. We have swag, teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves, just in time for the holiday season. Check out what we have that you could give your loved ones at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. Come play video games with us on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. And you want to see what we're up to outside of Sports from the Couch, if you're into true crime or pop culture, anything in the political world, check us out on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. So before we get into the picks this week, we know that if you're a fan of the network, you've been wondering why we've been a little quiet here, why we haven't had a lot of audio like we normally do. We are really good about having shows for you throughout the entire week. On Mondays, we do a Sports from the Couch. On Tuesdays, a Murder Mysteries and More. Wednesdays, we either do a Quarantine Files or a Sports from the Couch. Every Thursday during the NFL season, you can join us right here as we make our confidence picks. Of course, Fridays is the Good Brothers, and we have a Saturday edition of Sports from the Couch. But obviously, there's a little important stuff going on in the news as the presidential election is happening in our great country here in the United States. And to be honest with you, it's a little bit of two things. Obviously, this show and every other show gets buried because it doesn't matter. There's real stuff going on. And with that, I think it's important to be a distraction. If you guys know, here on Mercado Airwaves, we believe that you should be able to have some place that you can go away from the real world for an hour or so. I mean, the real world doesn't go away, so we do believe that we can be that entertainment. But at the same time, I think people just don't want to hear just nonsense. Everybody's just so locked in. So with that, we do think we're a few days in. This isn't going anywhere. We figured it's time to kind of get back on it and just join you guys, be with you guys, and talk some football, talk some sports, and be with each other during these times and have some fun. And we start off with Thursday Night Football, Green Bay, San Francisco. I mean, Green Bay has injuries. San Francisco has injuries. We just found out Aaron Jones will be playing, so that's going to be a nice pickup for Green Bay. San Francisco, basically half of the team is missing from George Kittle and Jimmy Garoppolo, Ayuka, a bunch of guys, even Deebo Samuel. So Thursday Night Football, I don't like picking survivors on Thursday night, but this week I am kind of have my hands handcuffed because I've already picked a lot of teams that went against the Jets, and I am not playing New England versus New York in that matchup. So because of that, I went with Green Bay over San Francisco. Then we go Green Bay over San Francisco in our confidence pick as well. Let me know, do you guys like playing the Thursday night game in your survivor pools? I hate it. I absolutely hate it, but I have no choice this week. I can't play Pittsburgh. I've already played them, so this is kind of one of those weird moments where I'm kind of stuck going with them and watch Green Bay break my heart in a different way by losing a game this time. We have Baltimore, Indianapolis, a battle of two good defenses and one offense that kind of underwhelming with Phillip Rivers, an older quarterback. We knew it wasn't going to be this high-power offense. They have a nice running game. Interesting to see what's going on with Jordan Wilkins and with Jonathan Taylor. We'll see how that ends up going out when it comes to splitting the reps. Naeem Hines went off in their game last week. Baltimore, losing to Pittsburgh in a big matchup, down at the end of it, Lamar Jackson did not look good, and everybody thought this was going to be a game that he would be able to feast because they were going to be in a competitive game, and they were. They were in a competitive game, though, because he was giving up the ball every single chance he got. I love Lamar Jackson. You guys know I'm invested in him when it comes to fantasy football. I got money riding on the kid. I think he's awesome. Beyond all that, I think he's awesome. He needs one of these big games. And this is a tough defense. I don't know if it happens this week, but I think we're all kind of waiting for Baltimore from Lamar Jackson to just go off. And even if they put up a lot of points, it hasn't felt like what Kansas City has done at points throughout the season. So I have Baltimore in this matchup, but in Indy, I think a lot of it comes down to can Phillip Rivers just outperform Lamar Jackson one way or the other. We'll find out. Carolina against Kansas City. Christian McCaffrey coming back maybe? I mean, I think he's been ready to come back for a little bit, but they were just giving him as much time as possible, especially if you look at their schedule. Kansas City obviously they're the best team in the National Football League, in my opinion. I don't think that's a controversial statement. It's in KC. I mean, Carolina's the kind of team that can upset one of the top tier teams. I just don't think it's against Kansas City in November in Kansas City. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs in that matchup. Chicago taking on Tennessee. Both teams losing the last two. Both teams going through COVID problems. And now it's the Bears' turn, who are just being ravished by COVID-19 from Cody Whitehair down. So we'll see how this plays off. We didn't get a chance to talk about it on Monday. I was working at the radio station as a board op for the election, so a lot of things were going on. I was working overnights, those few nights, so I didn't get a chance to talk to you guys about the matchup. Here's where I'm at when it comes to the Bears and what happened with the Saints, is they knew what the Saints were going to do. And you can't stop. You're not going to stop Alvin Kamara. You have to contain him. The Bears defense didn't do that. The Bears defense is one of the main reasons this team is 5-3. In a good way. They're the reason why they have as many wins as they do. I don't think you go to Mitchell Trubisky and then they bring him in for one trick play and he gets injured and he's done. Nick Foles looked horrible. I mean, some of those interceptions, it's maddening because it's what we said last week. He's the most streaky quarterback that I've ever seen in the NFL. In the most negative of ways. He could go out and win a Super Bowl, go on a playoff push. And then he could look like that. There's a reason why he's been on 6 teams. There's a reason why Gardner Minshew beat him out even after the injury and he came back healthy. Like, this is not a surprise. I don't care how great of a teammate he is, how nice of a guy he is. That's wonderful. I'm glad that at least he's that kind of dude. But that doesn't mean that makes him a great quarterback, because he's not the quarterback of your future. So what are you supposed to do? What are they supposed to do? You're 5-3. You take your record as it is. Because worst case scenario, you finish 7-9. Best case scenario, 10-6. So there's a chance you make the playoffs still. You don't feel confident about it. But in the NFC, where everybody's just kind of cannibalizing themselves, that's another interesting point. It's who's better than who. Green Bay gets blown out by this team, but then beats this team. The Bears beat this team, but get smashed by this team. It's all over the place. New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Seattle, Arizona, there's a bunch of, now it's kind of starting to talk like the election, but now we have a bunch of different places that have just kind of beaten on each other, and it's like in the UFC, where you got to do fighter's math. Just because you beat this guy doesn't mean that guy's going to lose to this guy, or that you're going to win that fight. It's really weird, and then you look at the Titans. I think the Titans are really good, kind of what the Bears want to kind of be. A controlled quarterback who can throw it down the field, who won't lose you a game, and smash mouth running back. But the problem is you don't have Derrick Henry. Your offensive line is nowhere near as good as Tennessee. Ryan Tannehill is a good quarterback. He had some injury problems in Miami, but there's a reason why he was a top pick. So Tennessee really needs this win at home, and you have a bunch of COVID problems with Chicago. I'm going with Tennessee, and I am not confident after what I saw with Matt Nagy, still with the play calls against New Orleans. And here's the thing: watch around the NFL what you wanted to see from Matt Nagy and what you actually see being done. Look at what happens. Even though on Thursday Night Football, I think the Packers are going to win. What Shanahan can do and to scheme is why there is a little bit of doubt of do you really want to play that matchup? Do you want to bet against that game? So I'm going with Tennessee. I would love for Chicago to win, but I think this is just a continuation of the problems that's going to happen in Chicago. So we'll go with the Titans in that matchup. We have the Broncos versus Atlanta. The Broncos are better than I think we thought they were going to be. I don't know how much that means to anybody. When there's such the discrepancy between the Chiefs and the rest of the division. But with that, I think they've had some nice wins. They've been able to play defense. I think Atlanta has to stumble onto a win at some point. and their offense has to kind of come together. I think Matt Ryan is still, and obviously with the trade deadline going on and nothing being really done, I think Matt Ryan now is playing for next year. A team that he can play for. Will it be New England? I don't know. He has like $40 million that you owe him. I don't know. But I think he's playing to try to get somebody to, dough up that cash and be like, hey, let's bring Matt Ryan in. So I'll go with Atlanta in this matchup at home. We have the Lions taking on the Vikings. The Vikings having that big win against Green Bay. I mean, I guess at this point, Detroit, will Matthew Stafford play? That's what it comes down to. Will Matthew Stafford play? Because if he plays, I think Detroit wins this game. They don't have Kenny Golladay. But Minnesota, it's a Dalvin Cook thing. Can Dalvin Cook go off? I'm kind of leaning towards Detroit. That's kind of my upset. It looks like a lot of people are picking Minnesota. I'll go with Detroit simply because I think Matthew Stafford will play, and I think he'll find a way to win that matchup. We have the Texans against the Jaguars. I'll go with the Texans, I guess, in this game. But here's the thing. They were on the market to try to trade Will Fuller to the Packers and couldn't come up with an agreement. How is that going to change the morale of this team? Do they feel confident in this team? Do they want to play? I mean, obviously, you have this crazy regime change with Bill O'Brien, who sucked, obviously, but you had to make that change, but you did it in the beginning of the season, and it's really hard for a team to bounce back from that, right? So I'm going to go with Houston in this matchup. We'll see what Jacksonville does in their quarterback position, but yeah, we'll go with the Texans in that one. We have the Giants taking on Washington. Somebody has to win that division. I guess if Saquon Barkley was playing for the Giants, I would say they would win this game. I think Washington wins this one. They're just well coached. Ron Rivera is just a really good coach. So just because of the tangents and the tangibles, I should say, I'll go with Washington football team winning this game. In a fun matchup, the Seahawks taking on the Bills. The Bills have a better defense. It's in Buffalo. Josh Allen, if Josh Allen, and this is a big if, doesn't make mistakes, Buffalo wins this game. The problem is Seattle is never out of a game. They'll keep you in it, but they're never out of it. Can they stop Singletary and Moss, Diggs? Can they stop Beasley and Josh Allen? I don't know. So I'm going to go with Buffalo in this matchup at home. I think there's just a lot of weapons, and you're going to lose some of these games. And some of these games are, I don't want to call them trap games, but it's out of the conference, it's away, and it's against a really good team. So I'll go with Buffalo in that one. We had the Raiders taking on the Chargers in LA. This is an interesting one. I mean, the Chargers aren't very good, but I love Justin Herbert. I think Vegas is decent. They're trying to make a true playoff push. This is a big time for Derek Carr. It'd be interesting to see Derek Carr in a Bears jersey, just saying. I'll go with the Raiders going on this one. We have the Cardinals taking on Miami. No Myles Gaskin. Tua Tagovailoa had a nice game, a win. We'll go with Arizona in this one. They're just better. What else can you say? I just want to see a good game from Tua. I want to see a good game from Kyle Murray. Want to see what happens with Chase Edmonds. Want to see if Kenyon Drake is just out of the offense. And DeAndre Hopkins is one of the best receivers in the league right next to Davante Adams. So we'll go with the Cardinals in that one. The Steelers taking on Dallas. You tell me why Dallas would win that game, and I'll go ahead and put a bunch of money on that expertise because you're definitely a time traveler if you find out that Dallas wins that one because there's no way Pittsburgh loses that game. And now watch Pittsburgh lose that game. We have on Sunday Night Football, New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, a Super Bowl that never was between the Saints and the Patriots. We get on Sunday Night Football in a division matchup. Here's the thing. Tampa Bay's defense really good against the run, against the pass, right? A lot of weapons on offense. Antonio Brown's being active this week. At least it looks like that. At least it's heading that way. We'll find out later on in the week. Chris Godwin coming back. You have, obviously, Mike Evans. You have Gronk. Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette's going to take over that job. And then, obviously, Tom Brady. And then in the Saints side, can Michael Thomas finally play? Is he going to be healthy? At what point, though, the Saints actually start playing like we think the Saints can play? And that's the most frustrating thing is, like, Alvin Kamara has been balling out. But they haven't even had their best receiver, one of the best receivers in the league. Some of it his fault, some of it just injury. And I don't know how good Tampa Bay is, though. And this is that Bears math. Bears beat Tampa Bay Are they better than Tampa Bay? Bears lose to New Orleans. Are they like that much worse than New Orleans? If one of these teams win this one, the national media says they're a Super Bowl favorite. It's all weird narratives. And it's all just, painting a picture for somebody to sell clicks and whatnot. At the end of the day, nobody really knows because it's so razor thin in the NFL, let alone this particular season, when you don't know who's going to play any given Sunday. More even than a usual season when you just don't know who's going to make it out of a game. You don't know who's going to make it into a game last minute. Simply because I don't have enough upsets and I kind of want to counterbalance because this is confidence picks, I'm going to go with New Orleans in this one. But at some point, if Tampa Bay stays healthy, they do gel in the next few weeks, they do have an explosive offense. So I think long term, they're probably in a better place than New Orleans. But I think New Orleans has their back against the walls. And I guess at some point, Drew Brees is going to have to be Drew Brees. And we'll see if that happens against division rival and career rival in Tom Brady. And finally, in a matchup that maybe 10 years ago would have sold every single pay-per-view, it is the Patriots. It is the Jets. Look, everybody's going with New England. I'm going to go with the Jets. Screw it. Bill Belichick is smarter than all of us. They have horrible positional players. I thought Cam Newton was going to be better. He started off really interesting. I still have faith in the man. MVP, super stud. At some point, it'll work out. So he will end up gaining some of his, attributes back, and it will work out a little bit. I think the Jets win this one, though. I don't know. I'm not going to put a lot of confidence points in that one, but I'll go with the Jets over New England. And with that, it is now time to put confidence points in these matchups. So for sure, we're going to put a bunch of confidence points on Green Bay over San Francisco because of all the injuries. We'll go with Arizona over Miami. No Myles Gaskin, so a big weapon loss. Devontae Parker could still go off, but I don't think that's going to happen, especially Arizona coming off a bye week. Pittsburgh will be our biggest play of the week. We'll put the most on them. Kansas City is going to be an interesting one because they are playing as I am looking for them right now, they are playing Carolina, so I think Carolina is a good team. They can win this one. This is the NFL. I don't think they are, so I'm not going to put all the points on them, but I'll put some points on KC winning that matchup. We have Baltimore, Indianapolis. I don't know if I'm all that confident in that one, so we'll hold off. But looking at the rest of these matchups, it looks like that's going to be the one that we're going to have to put the most points on, at least in this matchup. So I'll put, as I look through, and I kind of keep looking at, I'll put 10 points on Baltimore over Indianapolis. I'm not loving it, but I kind of have to go that way because here's the thing. I'll put 10 on Atlanta over Denver. Well, Atlanta, so I'm not crazy confident in it, but I do think they're going to win that game. Then I'll put 9 on Baltimore over Indy. I keep looking around. Houston versus Jacksonville. This one's tough because it's in division. They know each other, and Jacksonville, again, new quarterback. We'll see what happens. And Houston with trade rumors, so we'll be a little bit more stingy on that one. Just looking around, it's tough because there's a lot of close matchups. And I'm kind of guessing that this is where it's going to end up leaving. Maybe I'll put 5 points on Buffalo over Seattle, and we'll run these down in just a little bit just so we can keep you guys up to date. And make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk and at Mike M Media in case we make any changes to these before kickoffs to see how we are running these down. And I am looking like, I guess this is pretty as confident as I'm going to be when it comes to some of these. Put more points on that one. I'll mess around and do that. All right, let's run it down. I have 14 confidence points on the Steelers over Dallas, 13 confidence points on Green Bay over San Francisco, 12 confidence points on Arizona over Miami, 11 confidence points on Kansas City over Carolina, 10 confidence points on the Falcons over the Broncos, 9 confidence points on Baltimore over the Colts, 8 confidence points on Tennessee over Chicago, 7 confidence points on Detroit, Minnesota, 6 confidence points on the Bills over Seattle, 5 confidence points on Vegas over the Chargers, 4 confidence points on Houston over Jacksonville, 3 confidence points on Washington over the Giants. I'm going to switch that up. I'm going to put Washington over at 4 points, and I will have Jacksonville beating Houston with 3 points. I will then put 2 points on New Orleans over Tampa Bay and 1 point on the Jets over New England. And those are my picks for this week in the NFL. Let me know how yours are breaking down. Do you like my picks? Do you hate my picks? How have your picks been going this season? I want to know all of it. I'm on social media all over the place. We're on Twitter at Mike and Media, Instagram, Mike Mercado Media, and of course the show is on Twitter at Couch Sports Talk. You can like, rate, review, and share us wherever you get your favorite podcast at Mercado Airwaves. Become a producer of the show at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves, the home to our interviews with athletes and celebrities that you get ad-free and before anybody else at patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. It is the holiday season. Give your loved ones swag from Mercado Airwaves at teespring.com/Mercado Airwaves. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/Mercado Airwaves Network. We're on Twitch, twitch.tv/Mercado Airwaves Network. And if you want to see what we're up to on everything we're doing on the network when it comes to all the other podcasts from true crime, pop culture, politics, and everything in between, follow us on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. From everybody here from Mercado Airwaves, please enjoy the rest of your night. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We will see you next time here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network. I'm your host, Mike Mercado.